The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, after 8 years, this NDP Liberal Prime Minister is just not worth the cost of food. It's not just that 2 million people a month can't afford groceries and are forced to line up at food banks. It's just now that those food banks are running out of food and Canadians are diving into dumpsters. Literally, there's an 8,000-member Facebook group called the Dumpster Diving Network.
Shame.
How can the Prime Minister look those people in the eyes and raise taxes on their food when they're eating out of garbage cans?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, we recognize that many Canadians are facing extremely difficult times, which is why we're continuing to step up our supports across the country for food banks, for programs, and for supports for vulnerable Canadians. This is something that we have taken seriously and we will continue to. At the same time, Mr. Speaker, we're continuing to move forward on concrete measures to help Canadians, like dental care, like pharmacare, like child care. These are things that the Conservative Party continues to vote against in terms of helping vulnerable Canadians, in helping with affordability. He's there to instrumentalize vulnerable Canadians and try and play politics off of them. He's not there to help.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, that's the best answer he can come up with after 8 years of record food price increases that has forced people not just to food banks, but to literally jump into dumpsters and bring their phones that they can network on Facebook to share tips on how to eat out of garbage cans. In Canada, life was not like this before this Prime Minister, and it won't be like this after he's gone. In the meantime, will he at least have the humanity to cancel his April 1st 23% tax hike?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, farmers across this country know the impacts of climate change on the food supply in Canada, on the growing and production of food. These are things that we are fighting against by fighting against climate change and putting more money in the pockets of Canadians right across the country. We will continue to be there with support for food banks. We will continue to be there with support for vulnerable Canadians. Now, the Leader of the Opposition loves to talk about them and try and score political points off of these vulnerable people, but he is offering no real solutions for them as we continue to step up and deliver supports for people from coast to coast to coast.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Selon l'organisme.
According to the Second Harvest organization, there have been an additional 1 million visits, or there will be 1 million additional visits this year due to food inflation. These additional visits to food banks have been caused by the Prime Minister. According to some experts, the Prime Minister should at least freeze the carbon tax, but the Bloc Québécois has voted to radically increase the taxes on the farmers who produce our food. Will the Prime Minister ignore the Bloc Québécois for once, cancel the costly coalition, and axe the tax on food? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, no party in this House needs to be preached to by the Conservative Party when it comes to helping vulnerable people, because the Conservative Party just wants to lower taxes on the wealthy, help out well-heeled people, and not support vulnerable Canadians, whether with food banks, dental care, child care, seniors. We know that the Conservatives only have austerity and cuts to offer. We will continue to be there for people and fight climate change.